Today we also have a very exciting talk by Shanghai-based independent curator Chao Jiaxing. So Jiaxing actually happens to be touring in Europe right now. So after I learned about her itinerary, I was like, since you're in London, for like a couple of days, by any chance you could come up with us? And Jiaxing asked me how far it was. I was like, not far at all. So just a one direct train, 2 hours. And here we are. So this morning, Jiaxing traveled up from London. Very happy to welcome her. It's her very first visit to Manchester, and we feel very honored to be able to host her at the Contemporary. I'll make a very short introduction about us as an organization, and then Jiaxing has a very impressive bio, and which is also printed on this sheet everyone can find on the seat. So I don't plan to read through all the text, but I will try to highlight a few key information for the sake of the video recording. A very quick housekeeping note before we begin. This talk is being recorded and photographed. If you don't want to be part of the documentation, please just kindly let a member of the team know. Except for myself, all of our team is wearing a yellow badge, so they're quite easy to identify. So my name is Chao Jiaxing. I'm the director of Easy Contemporary. We're the UK's only non-profit contemporary art center specializing in presenting and platforming artists and art practices that identify with and are informed by East and Southeast Asian cultural backgrounds. Today's event, a talk by Chao Jiaxing, Curating the Speculative, is part of our ongoing program, Publishing Otherwise, which you can get a sense of from our bookshelf, maybe after that talk. We're delighted to be joined on site by independent curator Chao Jiaxing, who will share her extensive experience with transregional curating. She will delve into the exploration of storytelling as a curatorial methodology, aligning with the impact of cultural diasporas on contemporary visual art curatorship. Chao Jiaxing is an independent curator and researcher based in Shanghai. From 2011 to 2015, she served as the curator and managing director at the V Art Center, a nonprofit space funded by the Shanghai Institute of Visual Arts. From 2017 to 2019, she was a senior curator at Star Museum, located in the westbound district of Shanghai. Her current research and curatorial interests focus on cross-disciplinary art practices and rituals as methods in contemporary East Asian art. Her recent curatorial project series, Rituals in the Rituals of Future, relies on slow, performative, preliminary research for collective creations. In 2019, she was awarded the ACC Residency Fellowship at an Asia Cultural Center in Guangzhou, South Korea, and also received a travel grant to attend the CNAM 2019 annual conference in Sydney, Australia. As part of today's talk, Jiaxing will introduce her recent curatorial project, A Story of a Merchant, co-curated with Extru Noel at Curibanzuto in Mexico. This research-based speculative exhibition interweaves personal narratives, travel logs, historical artifacts, newly commissioned artworks, fictional characters, and architectural interventions. The exhibition seeks to establish a shared language that challenges preconceived notions, echoing Lisa Lowen's concept of the intimacy of 4 continents. By investigating the intertwined histories of indenture and colonial violence in Asia, the Caribbean, and Americas through the life trajectories of Chinese merchants. The exhibition sheds light on the shared experiences of the Chinese diaspora across diverse regions. So without further ado, I will hand over the floor to Jiaxing, and after her talk, Dot will be moderating like a Q&A, and as we have an intimate audience group today, everyone will be welcome to join the discussion. So hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sharon, invited me here. Actually, 10 years ago, I was visiting London for 4 days. So this time it's very treasure for me to be here and also deliver a lecture here. Yes, when I see the topic of today's lecture, I feel it's really it's a very big topic. Yeah, I try to clearly to explain it. please forgive me, and maybe I will be very slowly to go through because I sleepiness this yesterday. Yeah. Okay, so when I talk about my curation, I have to introduce myself first to different layer. Latitude is I'm not just making exhibition. Sometimes I also create collective creation with artists and invite people for interdisciplinary field, and writing and also making workshop or more productive curatorial project and publicate my publications also very significant part of my curation. Yeah. As Chao introduced, I started to run a space from 2010, and it was my beginning of my career. So I have been making quite a lot of shows during 2010 to 2015. I started to feel tired with making exhibitions, so I started to chance my works to more deeply or profound research after that. And so my exhibition making is quite linked to the collective. And when I realized my collective creations, actually it's quite related to the institutional critical from some, yeah. So firstly, I have to introduce my my recently curation. It's an exhibition called Curator with Extra Noel, who is the artistic director of Rockman Museum now. And why we start to curate this show is because we encountered in South Korea from 2018, when we talk about the topic of market, we start to discover we all interested in the things in daily life, like the market. So we like to going through some traditional market, like fish market, food market, or clothes market, with some rentals, selling spaces, always gathering this everyday life things, and some creative thinking actually including some daily everyday life things. So we start to have this fate. And from last year, it was Shanghai lockdown. I'm luckily escaped from Shanghai's lockdown and be outside. And when I met my ex-Noel, we started to talk about it. Actually, she is also interested in the topic of the Asian diaspora and this topic. Then we start to construct the exhibition about the exhibition in Fremantle in Mexico City. And as we know, Fremantle is a gallery start from 1999, and they start to organize the exhibition with the artists in Mexico City. Is in market, actually. The traditional market, maybe you know, it was a traditional market called the Beetle. It is a very dangerous place. As a tourist, we hardly to enter. Sometimes as a tourist, they see a very unfamiliar face. You will be stolen money. So your organs and your body is not really dangerous. And Tobito actually means to breathe, very brief resident neighborhood, it means. So, but I'm super interested in the Tobito, but at that moment, I really never been in Mexico City, never been in the land of Latin Americans. In my concept, Mexico is a part of Latin America. But when I start to my remotely studying, I start to, actually Mexico City is a part of North America. So, yeah, I started reading book and watching movie, and after that, but as a foreigner, as a Chinese, never been in their land, it's hard to really to conduct a concept or guided by some specific topic. So I'm very lucky to encounter a merchant in the biggest literal platform in China. It's called Douban. So some Chinese speaker know about it. I found it really interesting story. A merchant called Shuima, he really had all the character of immigration with Asian diaspora. He run quite a lot of business from his hometown Guangzhou, and he moved to Los Angeles and moved to San Francisco, and finally take over a booth in the retail market from his brother. And he gathered quite a lot of features of Asian businessman and the Asian merchant. So I feel it's kind of a legacy of a person. So I started to using of this rule to construct this expression. And when I talked with ex-Melville, she also excited with this. Actually, in China, is quite a lot of curator also using of this literal rule to frame their expression. It's quite like not a common way, but in Mexico City or in Latin America, people never think of an expression like this. So it will be very fresh to them to look at the relationship between Chinese culture and also Mexican culture. And so from beginning, when I started thinking the expression, and also I think is that's kind of our imagination is always one way. When Chinese think about Mexican, we never reflect from the center of the word. Usually we always influenced by the consciousness or ideology is from like a very dominated countries, like we reading book like published from a scholar from the United States or from Europe, and through that we know about what is Mexican, what is culture. So, but when the Chinese intellectual thinking of Latin American, we never do this. Then when I start to study this, I found a lot of the publication from China. Actually, they funded by the government. Yes, like they like spy. Yes, maybe I also met a person who studied alternate space in the 1990s in Mexico City. He actually learned Spanish and worked for a government department. And he taught me his study is really no specific oriented field. It's just study Mexican. So those kind of person let me thinking of quite a lot of spy actually really in the land. I'm very happy to be candidate. Yes. So and also I want to mention that when I realized this kind of specialized of this expression is that it's after the Republic of China is quite a lot like writer shifted their career to create a novel. This novel is kind of a method for those writers to express some really darkness or symbolic meanings behind the society. As we know, in China, we cannot really express ourselves very freely. Yes. So the novelists sometimes they could decoding something symbolic or decode something through their writing. So I feel this maybe this kind of a layer in this curation. Next is I wanted to introduce my method, my pathway to thinking and expression. From the beginning, is when I have this concept to borrow the story from merchant, I start to construct the space. So this is like a layout of the Communal this gallery. The gallery is have open construction, as you can see the space divided to three space in the garden place and the main exhibition hall, and also a kind of empty space in the front of the door. And so we decided to divide the space to two parts, into market space and also the personal space, which is the merchant's apartment. So that you can see from the beginning, the apartment have two spaces. It is a reading room and a bedroom. And also from the very beginning, it's have the second floor. We provide a kind of a rooftop. Yeah, but through the process of the exhibition and some part be cancelled. So some works change their position in the final step. You can see the exhibition including having two artists from different regions, from Latin American and from Mexico City, from Australia, and some from China, from South Korea, and even one participate artist who is called Shanghai. He is a master, but we commissioned two artists to create two fake pieces of him. And it's because his work is quite expensive. We always see his piece in the auctions with a very pricey coffee. But we used a very smart way. I want to show you in the corner. You can see the very famous work in this corner. Maybe it's too small. Yes, this is pieces created by a Chinese artist, Hu Yingping. She invited some housewife in her neighborhood to knit in this piece. Yes, when we have this piece, the employee and Campuliman will start to research. He is a master. Shanghai is a master. Shanghai used to create so much higher pricey results in the auction place. You can see that we construct some elements in this marketplace, including the mat, the rubber mat from the collective Boroho, who used to be part of the last documentary. They created this pattern with the using of one of the members' grandfather's one of the member from the Boroho, actually, her grandfather was a Malaysian, is an Asian Malaysian. So after the Republic of China, his grandfather went back to China to start to work as a worker in a rubber tree plantation place. Yeah, using quite a ground passion in this a rubber plantation place for whole life, and all the members from the Boroho start to create this story and using all of these patterns. Finally into the rubber mat. We usually see the fish mat. We usually see this kind of a mat in the fish market, is to avoiding people to sleeping down. So you can see the visible, and the yellow walls show quite the compound colors we always see in Mexico City. You always see some construction building is they colored by the yellow and colored by orange. Yeah. And the right place is a pieces from also a collective bird hat. They create this kind of plagues we always see. It's displayed in the Chinese merchants store, rental store, to show kind of a spiritual space. But in Chinese history, is that the plague always show kind of Jianghu. Jianghu is kind of a folk place. It's kind of balance of the centralized empire regulations, where people want to escape from the centralized empire regulation. They created kind of a different folk regulation to correct some really bad things. So this time, we using of these to show kind of a spiritual space of this community. And for example, the left part is the 8 pieces from the important Chinese artist, but they're living in French and they already passed away. His name is Chen Zhen. Actually, our thinking of the market is also birthed from the 8 pieces. It's created some image from the 1990s China, but the amorphy is really closely similar to the amorphy in downtown Mexican City today. So we always can discover some place is they still preserve some rental methods like government-owned rental store in China that just existed in the 1990s, but we not at this moment we no longer see this kind of a rental method. Yeah, in the middle of the image, we can see the famous artist Han Yang's work. It's very. I want to highlight this work is because he is like an artist. She's an artist from South Korea, but now stay based in Berlin, right? But the amorphy is quite like harmonic. Yeah. Yes, his work, her work created some chimneys we usually see in the market in Mexican cities. The Mexican city is full of a market, different market. Like the Beetle is just one of the most brief endangered market, and another free market is also amazing. You can see the market everywhere and find the object and items you want everywhere. And they kind of sitting against modern selling ways. Yes, they against the big shopping malls and hardly found big shopping mall. Yes, everything shows that's kind of a mess, but it also shows the magic. Yeah, this room is about the merchant's apartment. It's kind of some furniture is from free market and in Mexico City. It's not that really good furniture, but it's very common in the Mexico people's room. We consistent with the Gabriel Orozco's work and also the videos from Chinese artists from Chao, and the oil paintings from Canvas Link, who is an artist based in Los Angeles. He created this pig works. This pig, from the beginning Chinese immigration always be names in Chinese pig. But and very funny that this painting also painted by the pig owner. Yeah, but it's maybe very smelly, but actually not. we organize some rock in this space and using for the proper colors and create some miserable atmosphere. But for me, it's very surprising that when I visited the castle of the chocolate back in the center of the Mexico, it's kind of a castle belong to the secondary empire Mexican government. It's kind of a puppet government before the Mexican revolutions. When I see the war colors in this castle, it's the same color. It's so something happened occasionally in the final step because most of the arrangement is start from the imagination, but finally they match each other. Then we create some conversation. We can see the Chinese paintings flower, and we can see the Orozco's flower, the tree, and also we can see I want to show more picture. Is we can see the rock from the flea market, and we can see the paintings that have a similar patterns from Chinese artist Ding Yi, and also the mask. And this mask from Gabriel Orozco, the Demi Ortega, and this mask pieces with ceramic mask pieces from Canvas Link. We never really designed this, but they finally encountered each other and created a composition in the exhibition hall. So that is the exhibition story of a merchant in Mexico, like a Peru. So we met quite a lot of audience and locals. When they visited the exhibition, they really excited with it. They never experienced those exhibition, and they are very curious about what's happening in China and what's happening in Asia, East Asia especially. Because quite a lot of businessmen working in the Beetle city, the Beetle market. Actually, they are Korean merchant, and the Chinese merchant. And this figure stream us from the literal platform. And the historian show he actually created a kind of a safety team. It's kind of community to protect the East Asian merchants. It's including Korean merchants and Chinese merchants, and it creates kind of a philosophy to protect those merchants. And the philosophy actually consists with the fight for the justice from Christianity, also the organize some in the understanding of the Asia trust justice into this principle. So some kind of a hybrid fusion in his thinking, and the merchants also think of spy. So it's quite a lot of character in this figure. So this figure can be more and more comprehensive, more and more complicated in this expression. And I think it's like a kind of ending of this introduction of this expression. And I want to talk about my research. More as because the story of a merchant is quite a special expression for me. I try to consistent my previous research with the new method from called curator, I never have the experience of the diaspora experience. I never studied it, so it's for me it's a new field for me. But for my previous research are related to the ritual in East Asia. For example, this expression is happening in this spring. It's called "To Stop After Golden Tea." Yes, when I consulting in the expression, actually I was on a train from Busan city. Busan is a city of a birthplace of her handbag cars. It's an industry place in the coastline city of South Korea. And I was on the train from Busan to the Seoul, in the very central of the capital city of the South Korea. And when I think of this topic, I see it's kind of a two-stop in the time. So we also have a two-stop of the tea ceremony in the time is so. And when I talk about the golden tea room, is because I conducted 3 months of research in Japan and last year. It was a research related to the rituals only in Japan. So we know in Japan some ritual not really related to the religion. Yes, it's including the ikebana tea ceremony and also the matsuri. Matsuri is kind of an urban ritual. We always see the ceremony is happening there on the arcade in the traditional market, some like a neighborhood. So we see some people have a very happy and flat and parade on the street. It's quite common. So I spent quite a lot of time to see those kind of ritual. I got some feedback from the local artists, especially in the Kyoto city. Some pretty people they told me they look at their creation, they look at their practices as a golden tea, as a tea room. Yes, it's very shocking for me. For example, a creator who is an artist, they usually spend 20 years in the United States, in American, and he studied in the Prague maybe. Yeah, they study sculpture, but after 20 years, she decided to move back to Europe to be a local people. but she's great. Her creation is more like to cooking. He created some cooking bit. He had a space called Fa. It's a restaurant. It's most of the time she invited interdisciplinary people into a cooking table. She always cooked food for these people and to invite them to contribute their performance or contribute their creation in the space. She told me she looked at the farm, the restaurant as a tea ceremony. So I'm very shocked by this. I also got the similar answers from the head monk of her temple in Kyoto. Yeah, the family before the Toyotomi Hideyoshi, actually the tea ceremony also have a dimension of very political meetings. Like political is not political is not just superficially to understand that it's kind of like a regulation delivered from the government, from the ruler. It's also the relationship between the two peoples. We also have the dimension of the political. Yeah, so before the golden tea room, the tea room is very small. Like the gate of the entry room is very small, very limited. It's maybe just several inch. And as a soldier, you have to take off all your stuff into the space to all be the principle delivered and principle regulated by the tea ceremony. So tea ceremony actually very press people to accept those regulation. But after Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the golden tea room became very ugly. Yes, he changed the colors to the golden and the red. Yeah, and it's also like a breaking relationship between the rulers, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and the tea ceremony and master, Genji. It's a quite important and very famous incident in history. But after that, Toyotomi Hideyoshi started to initiate kind of policies called it means using of the method of the tea ceremony to govern the country, to provide this kind of regulation to the public, to the people. Yes, maybe it's from some extent it's because Toyotomi Hideyoshi is born in a very normal, ordinary family. It's a poor family. He wants kind of a religion level, the regulation to let him to be a Nobel in the history. So yes, after that, I started thinking it's maybe like a golden tea room is kind of a container. It's led me to talk about some phenomena that I discovered after the pandemic. When I back from Japan, I started to find a lot of coffee service in China, in Shanghai, especially the main city. It's not just in Shanghai. It's when I talk about the artists friends in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, they also give me the similar answer. They told me now recently the coffee service is different from a coffee bar. It's not just a very simple business model. It's just a preserve coffee machine, and one person is from very nomadic ways to start their business, and they can engage in the coffee machine could be coffee service, could be engaged in the laundry, could be into a barber salon, could be into a bank. It's kind of a very simple way to start your business. Then after pandemic, using very low cost, and more people lose their job and they start to be a kind of a group of underemployment. So I found that a huge population of underemployment actually existed after the pandemic because of the financial crisis and also the interpretation by the central government. So I started thinking organize this phenomenon is into the golden tea rooms and also it's when I think of this when I recognize it's two style, because the previous style actually is a century years ago, the 100 years ago, and when the Japanese went through their revolution, Meiji Revolution, it was the modernity of Japan. There's a lot of, it was a lot of coffee, not coffee salon, the coffee bar. They call coffee salon is kind of a cultural import from France. When intellectuals, they could gathering together to talk about quite a lot of topic in this space. It's a new political space is for century years ago was Japanese. Yes, they went the West with the modernism. So I start to think of this. So I created two containers. Actually, the shapes, really the models of the two space really borrow from the original model of the golden tea room. You can see I like it because I learned oil painting, so I really like to create the sketching up with the stuff from the hand and draft. So the left part is the beginning of the SketchUp. The right part is the SketchUp provided for artists. And sometimes, professional artists, they like you to provide a really professional SketchUp and let them to persuade them to accept your curatorial topic. But I more prefer the latter part where I think in the golden tea room I start to imitate this, and when I thinking of the down part of the construction in the exhibition, it's kind of a model I borrowed from the Expo exhibition when in Kyoto or Osaka. It's a model is created in an airport. It's displayed. It's kind of a display for the foreigner to know about what is the culture of the golden tea room in the 16th century. So finally, you can see these two golden tea rooms show up in this exhibition. In this museum, is called Wuxia Art Museum. It's quite a digital art focused museum. So they have quite a lot of device to including your artist pieces. I especially divide one of the wall of the main tea room into the middle and color it into blue, because I think I want to look at the two two tea rooms also as a stage. When we look at this exhibition, we can from the different angle perspective. It's a really stage-like exhibition. You can see that this part it's a tea room is related to century years ago. It's two pieces from a Japanese artist. One showed the cultural, the coffee salon culture century years ago in Aichi area. It's like a Nagoya area. Yes, at that moment, the textile industry is quite developed. And so that most of the factory workers, the female workers, they start to enjoy the tea culture. Not tea culture. They enjoy the coffee very well. And so in the Nagoya place, they provide a kind of a morning service. It's called morning service, but it's service coffee and also bread and with egg stand on a container. Yes, you also it's very a humor a set to just provide in this area. Yes, it starts from the very morning to the sunset. So the piece is called Morning Sunset. It's show kind of dizzy amorphous with the color, the yellow color with amorphous of a sunset. So I've discovered these pieces and developed it into a new version. I discovered these pieces from Aichi Tsunade, but I persuaded our Japanese artists to develop it into a new version. And the right part is works from artists called Yoichiro Tamila, but also my co-creator in one round of my main curatorial project, Rituals of the Future. His work is quite specific site-specific work actually. He talked about like wars happen. It's what a war that happened between the Wuhan city, the museum located, and with Kiyotomi Hideyoshi. Hiromi Hideyoshi initiated kind of war in the 16th century, wanted to like invention Korea. But at that moment, it was Ming Dynasty, finally in history, like the empire of the Ming Dynasty, like deliver or like a soldier to like against the Japanese soldier. So this is another story. But in this story, is the artist in the opening ceremony invited the coffee service to let the artist find 2 cups about the football war. Football war in, I forgot which years because I slept yesterday. Yeah, and they usually offer $2 to purchase 2 mug cups from auction. There's like 2 labels related to the football game champion is on the 2 cups. So he using of these 2 cups and invite a person from outside to service Brazil coffee into to the local audience. And so it's a recycling to serve. So just 2 cups you have to clean up and to serve to the audience. And that reason why he served this because in that campaign, finally the Brazil football star Maradona, so, they win, the team win. So this is like a role, and it's kind of a traditional framework for traditional Japanese painting. He take place the image from with the Maradona's image. It's an image downloaded from internet. Yeah, it's kind of a story in my project. It's the time enough to that's okay. Yeah. So the right part, the left part actually is related to the coffee service today in East Asia, like most of the main city. You can see the small corner it's a tea set. It's usually like in history it's preserved some like a tea object in this table, but now I take place into some like a new object. Because in the history, the tea bowl and even the Korean tea bowl, Korean rice bowl is kind of the item we invest. The price actually applied by the tea master, his daily duty. So that's the reason why he like a suicide, and actually the ordered by the rulers, Kiyotomi Hideyoshi. Yes. Yeah, actually he killed by because of the excuse of operated the price of the items, the tea bowl and the tea set. Yeah, so but today I think all the items in the tea set already changed into new things. I just set up some items from my opinion. One is a fortune teller. Yes. Another is kind of ChatGPT. ChatGPT could answer you quite a bit. It's kind of an algorithm existent. And also an ideal, so-called ideal apartment is quite important concept for the Asian people. Because, in the film Parasite, this apartment is quite important for the people living in main city, living in the urban city. Yeah. So next is my favorite part, is publication. Yes, that's the reason why I started to do the publication after 2018, because I left the museum I worked. Yes, I finished my career of a really long years exhibition making. So I started to tired of exhibition making. Sometimes you feel the method is kind of hard to serve for your consciousness. And also around 2016, after 2016, all of the exhibition never around the consciousness production. It's all around the economic and then attention economic. It's we are all driven by the market, we're driven by the uphill, we're driven by provide a very like album oriented expression. So I start to think of what kind of message help me to escape it. So one of my partner, who was my important partner, he actually researched in the math for a long time. So he read quite a lot of math, and we starting to talk about it. Actually, we can use it of a ritual as method, because ritual always preserved in a very short period. Usually we look at ceremony within Christianity church. It's just last a few hours, or even the ritual wedding ceremony in Indian, they just last 7 days. It's not very long. But for me, it's after a period quite a long time research, I start to realize that actually most of the ritual, they really rely on very long-term preparation. When I studied monthly culture in Japan, one of their professor I invited into my workshop. He from the Hongxi University. He told me actually most of the monthly, they prepare for the monthly from the ending of the last year monthly. They start 1 year to prepare for this, and almost all the family in this neighborhood is devote themselves into the preparation of the monthly. The older generation and the middle period generation, the older generation, and the young generation, all involved in the monthly cultures. So that's the reason why the monthly culture preserved, most of the monthly preserved more than 500 years in the history, and they modified a lot with the oral recording. They never rely on the document, the paper document. And they even think most of the monthly, the final presentation just lasts 3 days. With that's reason 3 days, because it's kind of part of the tourist economy. They have to promise all the traveler could be really look at the monthly and never miss each of the moment. So you can go through quite a lot monthly in the 1 or 2 days, or 1 month and 3 months, even the whole years. The different region, they organize different monthly to the tourists. But they told me, the professor told me, actually the preparation is the most significant part of the monthly. Yes, not the final presentation. Yeah, so some dramatic process actually happened in the preparation of the monthly. And the most of the important part is the competition. It's a very significant concept in the preparation. And because the new money, it's related to the relationship of the new money and the old monies. And because old money donate quite a lot for financial support to the monthly preparation. Yes, but new monies can also have chance to devote their financial support to the monthly. But what's kind of mediums for them to realize it is to deliver their son, the youngs, to be the actor of the monthly. And the most competition things is who could be the next actor on the field. So as each family, they even will conflict is through the process. It's some older people from the older money family. They went to the organizer, the older generation, who's the organizer, to tell them, I donate a lot in history. Our family is already contributed a lot in history. That's reason why our kids cannot be the actor. And that's fighting always very competitive. Yeah. So when I know about some dramatic period, that's really understand why. That's the reason why the preparation is so much important. It's also contribute me to understand my practice is actually very concentrated on the preparation, but how I did this is through those kind of book. So Yeah, you can see the bottom, the couple of like pictures, all conducted from the process of the preparation of my project. But you know, the most of the preparation is quite invisible in our exhibition. We always look at the final results, right? We like to see the exhibition, but most of the process being neglected from time to time. Yeah, but my project not some very dramatic process. This is the second round of my project, Rituals in Rituals of the Future, which should be happening in the Youth Museum. But the Youth Museum is Indonesian Founders Museum in the westbound area of China. It was a really concrete museum from the beginning, but it's declined from a comprehensive excuse through the urbanism and some complicated process and development of the Chinese special consequence, condition, situation, and as a consequence, the Youth Museum at 2021 was really empty. No any exhibition happened at the Bureau when I talked about this project to them. And actually, I borrowed a concept of that. I wanted to use all the relevant material in the storage into my project. But very funny that the owner of the Youth Museum, she actually a very young girl study environment friendship. So she might understand my project as an environment friendship project, so she accepted that. But she not really serious to look at this exhibition. She looked at this as an educational program. So in China, the censorship have a different layer. If it's an international exhibition with an international participant, you have to report to the government, city government. If it's an exhibition just including a local artist, you have to report to the district, ruler. If this just an education project, you just report to the administrative neighborhood. So they just reported to the neighborhood, the administrative. The final as incident happened is before the birthday of our Communist Party. Yes, when they see the translation of the rituals of the future, it was called Ji. Ji in Chinese is kind of a very tough words, and especially before the birthday of the Communist Party. So as kind of a security teams, they came to the museum to stop this. In their opening day, the very morning of the opening days, they stopped this, so it cannot happen. And they're also the viewers, the employee of the museum, they really feel terrified with the consequence. They think they might be stopped closure very soon. Yeah, so they no longer accept it, and they no longer want to help us to continuously to realize it. But this most of the very dramatic, very interesting and heavy production process with those participated, especially the most of the participate. They are not easily to be part of the project. They including the musician, including very busy philosopher, and including the training disabled people from the charity house. And there's a very young group that they are just landing up Shanghai through the 2021, and they ask the students to study abroad for art, but they just landing up Shanghai, and the pandemic what happened is to them. So it's quite a lot of effort from those people, or kind of a waste the stopper, the closure of the exhibition. So finally we choose. I want to show it later. Finally, we choose to. sorry, I skipped some like page. We choose to like record everything into the project. And finally, I found a similar like, situation institution called Himalaya Museum, designed by a very famous like, architecture. But when I find that the museum is the cave space designed by architecture already divided into three parts, like a three floor. It's very funny. It's kind of a room space, but I super like welcome this the context of the museum. It's similar to the situation of the youth museum. So I moved this project into the final presentation into Himalaya Museum, and I have modified a little bit into. But I want to preserve everything every specific creative thinking conducted during the process into the final results as a publication. So I specialize the publication. The left part is the past tense. The right part is the present tense. So the tense show us the vision usually used to exist in this project. So you can see the left part. For example, this page, the left part is the exhibition hall, first floor, the lobby space of the youth museum. It's some an instrument we can use. You can see a piano player, and you can see a lot of the table really empty. You can see the coffee place. Yes, from beginning actually, one of the participators have to perform a kind of like a musical, like a dancing is using of like I don't know how to say it, the condition operated 对中央控制器的一个 central operated， 就是叫控制器。这个 musical controller， you always see that kind of controller, like a control music with this. So she from time to time to receive the music and the sounds recording and at this moment and transform it into the like a music is a deal already dealing with by her. So the artist should perform this, but finally she have to change the perform condition and change the idea. And the right part is the presentations in the Himalaya Museum. There's another group. They usually organize the meditation project each week, and so they provide the final presentation into the rooming space with kind of performance you see. And they create quite a lot of sentence. It's kind of like a conversation between people and people. You can see some gestures which is. Yeah, and for example, is another cases. Our ritual project is separate, always divided into 5 chapters. So the left part was should be in the youth museum. We're using the red plastic. We find it from the storage. And using of the frame, they usually hang the painting. Yeah, we consist it into a monumental piece. So the red plastic is put on the top, but the final thing is we have to change the band into the right part. And the artist is very smart to using of this red band, plastic band, they put it on the chair. And then create another kind of monumental sculpture, randomly. Yeah, for example, this is another case in the chapter 2. It should be we using of the a podcaster system in the museum to consist in the different channel of sound we received from that moment and the release. Through the controller of the podcast system in the museum, because we look at the museum as organ, each element, the sound system as an organ of a birthday. The museum should be a birthday. Yeah. So, but in Himalayan Museum, we don't have this kind of device because they are already declined a lot. Everything is cancelled, even the broadcast system. So we have to cancel this part. And the novelist, she's quite an important novelist that created and on set to create kind of a novel and a story. Regularly. So it's quite a lot. Fragment actually have to be visible, but finally invisible. But luckily, we could see everything in publication. Like this monumental piece I mentioned. This the right part is kind of the section of the Dionysos. Because in rituals, we always see a kind of a step is related to the god of wine. So wine is very important element in the ritual performance. But in this museum, they really terrified with the dangerous situation. We cannot drink alcohol in the museum. Yeah. So they finally forbidden us to drink alcohol, but they suggest us to using a cup with the cover. And they use a tube to have the alcohol, but even though the atmosphere is totally different. Yeah, but the right part of the ruin space, nobody care about. Care about the alcohol and drinking is no really. And then the right part, when we use this project in right part, we always permit by the city government administered. So let's back to. Let's back to my publication, another publication, which is very significant. Process is conducting in the same moment of the rituals of the future, the second round. It is called in the construction story, a history of the Shanghai art institutions from 2008 to 2016. It's kind of for a pan-institutional study because I used to run space and I used to work for museum. I kind of a variety of the period of my career. So I want to, at that moment, it was a pandemic, it's serious, it's everybody sick of. We have to start up with ourselves to critique, to give some really critical thinking to the past decade. So I started to do this publications through virtual meetings with all the practitioners. Actually, they all my friends, and we grew up in the same time. So most of them contribute their really very real thinking through the Zoom meeting. I tried to recording everything, every details with a very anthropological way, method. I don't want to lose everything. It's even some sentence they can have some of the paradox in it. Really. Yes, there are contradictions in the sentence. They even didn't realize, but I want to preserve the order of the sentence. When the young generation to research what's happened in the past 10 years, they could have their consciousness, their thinking through the reading. So all the cases in this project, publication, actually all have a feature of the heterogeneity. Yes, they are which is under construction. Just I divided the pan-institutional practices into 6 parts. Only the first part is related to several institutions that will have a physical space. But another part is they are all different, alternative institution. They including project limited institutional practices, including the collective creation. At the moment is when we don't have the concept but delivered by the document, and also alternative finale, and the beginning period of the convention gallery, and also some. I still introduced two art space in China, in Shanghai. So they do have features of their very institutional character. So those practitioners practices, for example, in Shanghai project, and it's happening in 2040. It's initiated by the founder of the Guangzhou Biennale. He wanted to create a kind of alternative biennale, using our so-called Horizon research is as a participator, based artist as a participator in this alternative project. But from his views, it's really a very advanced consciousness is towards those kind of metropolitan like Shanghai's practice to upload to improve the people's consciousness into a kind of a specific level. But from another two practitioner worked with schemes, it's really an unsuccessful consequence. It's due to a misunderstanding of the local people, the local audience. They don't really think, they think this is a project that spends consumers quite a lot of budget, but no any relate to the Shanghai, because it's called Shanghai project. Yeah. So it's quite a lot contradictions between different first practitioners, all preserved in each cases. Yeah, so this picture shows quite a lot first practitioner, including artists, thinker, including many company, this kind of organization, and Ding Haiqiao, this a small alternative space, located in the Yangpu district. Is quite a special district in China. It's never been part of the French position, fancy position. It's as a local people, I don't really never concerned about to build a space in Yangpu district. It's quite working classes district, but they choose this. And Le Dado and Chao Jiaxing, they conduct the co-curator in the Shanghai Biennale in 2012. It's kind of a turning point. Is when our power station of art, as you know, is having to have separated from the Shanghai Art Museum. Yeah, so it's quite a lot of a turning point and transformations during the 8 years, and also the 2008 was the Beijing Olympic. Yes, we all know Olympic Games quite important symbols for the East Asians for proof that they are developed. It's a very ideology moment, event, not just a sport competition. Yeah. And that's the reason why I ended with 2016, because I think after 2016, we no longer see any consciousness productions that run a mind as a cause. They all oriented to the affair and all the attention economy. And so there's 34 oral practitioners with contribute their oral documents into my project. And 22 cases, including the book. The book, you can look at the book as a two-part. One part is a stage. I provide 10 articles to really narrative to introduce a landscape of Shanghai, what's happened during the 8 years. And another part is kind of cake. I just cut an angle to let people to know about the heterogeneous part, to show some landscape that you just through this angle can see something transparency, right? Yeah, so that's in this publication I'm using of the concept of the tense. So quite a lot of the article actually conducted from my curatorial processes. Some article I wrote in 2040 or 2016 or 2012. It's not natural. But when you read this as you can see, what I was thinking is at that moment. So I still preserve the expression in the past tense. So there's some publication makings may be really exciting. You can really go through the smooth days without the consideration of budget. And maybe I had some critical concept of institutional control just seriously. But I didn't realize now. When I look back, I think maybe that two things, the collective creation of the rituals, also relate to my experience of around space, of thinking of the ecosystem and of the art infrastructure of Shanghai. Yeah, this is the first round that I mentioned when I started to construct the rituals of the future. At this moment, I want to show the video, but I don't know how to operate it. It's a 4 minutes video. The ritual actually lasts 1 hour, so I just cut it into 4 minutes for promoting. With all materials from the space are provided by Thomas Heschel, who is artist. The show is called Resculptor in China, in a museum of China. It's private museum. But I don't really agree with the concept of a resculptor. Resculptor is kind of a concept related to the ecosystem of the art ecosystem in West. The museum have already been very concrete, and we have to destroy it and to build it by the people's consciousness. But in China, I hope means actually there was no any museum really have a natural infrastructure, natural construction. They haven't built it. You're already thinking of breaking it. Yes. Yeah. So I want to fulfill your project. So and the first point is I have to use all the reference materials from you. So he regulates us to using some specific material, including the white plastic protecting you, rubber protecting you used for shipping sometimes, and also the paper, and also the plastic belt. Yeah, and so he is a novelist. The famous name writer in China, in Shanghai, maybe. His name is BTR. The guy is without hair. He had a kind of humorous. It's quite humorous. Delete, actually wrote delete. Yeah, because he created novels. The same name of Rituals of Future. It's kind of a two-part novel. It's one part of this describes our employees finally be lay off in the end of this year because of the results of his working is not really good. It's like a cancer, it's kind of a yetical. Yes. And the right part is kind of a modern, a criminal. It's a person be delete finally. So those characters actually relate to the all the letter in the computer, both people. So it's quite interesting, story is practice story. This story also in English, but with a video I cannot display it to you at this moment because I carry too much luggage at this moment. Yeah. So finally, the novelist performed himself as the character he created in his novel. He died in the stage, and we in the next chapter of the ritual, we have to reverse him to a new person, to be a kind of a reincarnation of this figure. Yes, this is the chapter of the reverse. The color changed by the papers that provided by Thomas Heschel. We're using the color to color the transparency slide and into the light controller of each chapter. And then the musician, who is from the Shanghai musician, like academy, like this. Yes, she's quite famous, like classic music, other than the and the violinist is also her student. So the musician works as a conductor and also a performer, and then to present using of the music of Bach to present the 5 chapters of the understanding of the generalized understanding of each rituals of the world. All the rituals have 5 chapters. I think it's kind of big. We can end up with this. Hope my presentation will be clear. But recently, I'm more focused on writing and also to making the productive workshop. Just because as a research, you cannot be comprehensively to really to research study everything. I'm not a scholar. Sometimes you have to rely on the people's, the professional people's research. So the workshop can be very efficient ways for a curator to collect very concrete content during a very limited residency period. Yeah, I think that's I could be end up my.
So inspiring. I feel like you really brought us to different locations in your amazing project. It's almost like a travel log on its own, your talk. So before I jump into asking Jiaxing my own questions, I wonder if there's any questions from the crowd that you'd like to ask, anything you'd like to learn more about from these amazing stories that we just heard. Yes, go ahead.
I really enjoyed everything that you were saying, and I took some notes about, I really am interested in the way that you describe it. It seems like a lot of things that you kind of stumbled upon, you describe as like containers, or like the idea of playing with these containers, but also allowing the audience to see into something that should be closed. I guess I would like to ask more generally, like, what's kind of like the motivation behind it, especially with like having those like 2 containers to open spaces, or the idea of like an apartment, it's usually something that should be closed, but it's allowing like, people to like walk through this idea from the apartment. So I guess the motivation behind thinking of something that should be closed and opening it and being very transparent and cutting into it.
Yeah, it's actually, yes, very good question, thank you. Actually, it's from 2 layers. I think first the layer is from my experience of the traveling. From some traveling, I really look at some like a object like a container in the airport space. So I see like those kind of arrangement of the space and never like burst from my imagination. It's burst from some specific person, it's maybe designer. They want audience to like touch the object inside, for example, golden tea room. They think it's kind of limited space and it's hard to go inside to look at. They're using of their like the method of the expo. They cut part of it. And let audience could be closely to touch the items or to look at what's happening in the golden tea room. And from this, inspiring from this, I was thinking of maybe I have to like preserve part of their designer and we're using of an extra cutting. So I cutting part of the border into the middle of the exhibition setting, and they like the connections between 2 golden tea room, the 2 container. So because I look at the whole container as a stage, so we always see like some border, like for example the shape, so some border, wood is a bit separated and floating on the river. Yes, I'm thinking of if you look at time as a river, the border, the wood can be floating on the top of the river. So that's, I think it's the first layer, and what the second I don't look at. Does I answer the question? Yeah. Okay.
what you just asked is very similar to what I want to ask as well. You don't sit here, sorry. I mean, there's so many things I want to ask about, but I guess for the sake of time, I'm very intrigued by what you described, the relationship between chaos, or your own word, messiness and magic, and how they both feed into each other, how you can find magic within chaos, and in the other way, chaos also gave birth to magic. So I think in your presentation you talk about through the image of a merchant, but also like other mythical image like fortune teller, etc., etc. I kept thinking about how, like when you start talking about the merchant, especially as a traveling kind of figure in different locations or lands, I thought about how like the window merchant in Italy or the takeaway stores in the UK. So like it seems like there's always a figure of a foreign merchant that is kind of living, floating in the foreign land. And I find that it made me think, does such image of a Chinese merchant exist in China, or is only a foreign image that exists in the people's kind of imagination or their perception of a Chinese figure? So is it like a displaced image that is particular to the Chinese diaspora? And I think that it's kind of like a thread I noticed through, say, your exhibition in Mexico. And I wonder if you kind of played around with the idea of like a diaspora image.
Yeah, it's, as I said, I never had an experience of the diaspora. So even I never studied this. I think it's a shortage of me to be the curator of this exhibition, but luckily I could start to like construct my method, my way, my pathways. From my perspective, as you know, I start to research like those kind of a comprehensive like a historical situation and also the cultural phenomenon and also what's happening now as what's happening in history. As of the Mexican, even the Latin American, I read quite a lot. The book is related to the liberal theory, related to the revolution history, is related to how the like Spanish and the Americans take over the business, like normally they are business in this land, and how sad it was. But I don't want to like really feel sad, yes, because I never believe people to suffer every single moment. Very like deep darkness moment from them. So that for me it's quite like a relax. I just imagine that it's very hard to really frame it. So it's when I read and met a person who ended like noble. So I feel like I find it really treasure things. I think maybe the novel created by an artist, because I always imagine in the illustration, it's maybe some creative people created this. So I think it's enough ways to really easily to explain some like deeply stories that just happen in histories. Like for example, some like participating artists, their family really complicated. They reach out from the filmmaker which is participating artist. His grandfather actually born in a city in South China, and the grandfather went to the Jamaica place and be a new citizen, and their family member, their grandsons, start to realize he don't have a root. He is kind of a people, like a cultural dolphin. As he wants to go back to the hometown to look at the trains of his grandfather, but finally he felt very sad. He didn't feel anything, and they even like at this point with the jewelry, for searching of the family members' trees. So I don't want to repeat this. It's very heavy and very long story, and even like me, I don't have a good memory person. I'm a person that have a very bad memory. So I think it has kind of forgotten or rebuilt it can be really like a message or pathway to really like look back the issue of the diaspora. It's not like an easy topic for Chinese to talk about it. The diaspora everywhere, like Asian diaspora, I cannot talk everything that can take place of the Asian diaspora. The Asia include East Asia, South Asia, like Southeast Asia. It's quite complicated. Each single individual have their own like memory. So we have to using of the art ways to reconstruct it. But I think like my cooperator, ex-Noel, she really she worked for Wuhan for a couple of years. And then she maybe birth from. She started to study maybe art and living in the United States after senior high school. Yes, I can't remember. Yeah, but she more like know about the context of the global, how global they look at the Asian diaspora. So tons of corporations make balance of this expression. I think finally the final presentation, for example, the furniture. For me, I think it is. I don't want any element existent in the expression without context. This shows the furniture from free market for me is very hard to accept. Because it's not like a burst from us very concrete ideas. If it's from open calls or from different families, it will be great. So, but just purchase from the free market, I think it's not make sense. But X, maybe from her perspective, she thinks it's quite normal, very ordinary furniture in the ordinary family, and in Mexican and Mex people don't think it's poverty. Yeah. So I think the correction and the balance from two perspectives, from two curators, is to make this expression really fluency or persuasive.
Yeah. I think it's like what you talked about, collective creation. Yeah, I'll definitely not call your the fact that you haven't studied abroad, that's a shortcoming. But I think how you present your research and practice, it's clear that you're very much self-reflective and aware of essentially about diasporic experience or history, or overall the history that we live in or live through is very fragmented. And I think people who none of us could put a factual statement to when we know it's history. And like you said about creative works or art making is very much to find those loopholes where you can infiltrate alternative histories, storytellings, or fictioning of history. You mentioned, another thing I just wanted to quickly mention is I love how you curate the exhibition in Mexico in the different display or setup of the different rooms, because next adjacent to the market space you have the domestic living room, which I think, in my understanding or recollection, is how in those market culture you get people who live right opposite or above the shop fronts. And that's how I draw in the proximity of the different space, whether domestic or public, and by the physical proximity that your exhibition is presenting them, and how that draws closer of a fictional merchant, or the idea of fictioning a merchant image being more realistic, of a lived figure that is maybe somewhat fiction, somewhat about biographical, which I think also exists between the space that is low and what is the foreign. But the second question is what you asked earlier. It's about space and your methodology to spatial narration in your curatorial practice. Because I feel like the way you approach those images or stories of merchants or fortune teller, tea ceremony masters, they're not just images. They're more like you're approaching them in a spatial way. You create boxes, like you said, in an exhibition or institutional space that I think kind of actually transcend beyond the institutional space as we would normally envision how an exhibition is. And I think it kind of really brings out the liveliness of those figures who doesn't only exist in exhibitions as figures of histories or like figures that we can study about, but they become alive in the sense that they can reinform or challenge what the stereotypes or what the impressions people have of those figures. So I wonder if you could talk a bit more about how you approach the spatial in your exhibition making.
Yeah, some figure, they are real figures, some figure are fake. Yeah, so I start to those kind of flexibilities start from real figures. I have to talk about the experience happening in 2018. When I attend a kind of opening ceremony dinner in one of Guangzhou Biennale temple, it's really shocked me a lot. As I felt from first moment, as I never see any opening ceremony dinner could be happen in front of the Buddha. In mainland China, I never see this happen. It's kind of be implied. It can be unrespected this to the holy image. But in Guangzhou, it can be very, very, very common, very normal. But after my research, I feel it's not normal. This temple is going to be special temple. It's the temple called Mugasa. The head monk of the Mugasa is only person who could speak English in this place. Yeah, so other employee all speak zero English, so it's hard to communicate. But this figure is quite interesting. He looked at his temple as an institution. He created a gallery inside, and he initiated free market each week in this temple, and he cooperated with Guangzhou Biennale for the dinner ceremony and the special exhibition project for 20 years. So that kind of experience made me think of it's not a temple, it's our institution, but the using of the method, the look of temple. So I start to propose a proposal to Asia Cultural Center in Guangzhou. Yes, they accepted me definitely. It's because it's a very unique phenomenon. It's been unique research figure in views, real life, but also it's in conceptualizing. Yeah. So, but some figure like Shui Ma in the literature profound. It's definitely fake, but it's fake enough to a legacy. Yeah. So those figures that help me to far away from the art community. Sometimes I burst in art community. I study art from primary school. It's art painting actually. I have to be a creator. I have to be a practitioner. But I give up after 2008, as a curator. I started to carry some experiences and consciousness as a curation. And so I give up. When I give up the method of exhibition making traditionally, I start to feel the border space. Is to inculcating those kind of real person, physically person, and to listen to his attentions to the contemporary art, even contemporary people. He's our friend actually. And some figures just exist in the book. I could to help him to reincarnation in the real life. And the figure Shui Ma is when we curated this show, the next stop, where we look at the apartment of the merchant, we start to thinking actually we can look at the space as a reincarnation of the person's grandfathers. We could bring a more comprehensive constellation into the space. So some memory, some object, plant even, the plant of the tequila, the plant to making tequila, aguica. It's very hard to pronounce. And Hao Liang's painting. Yes, we can really figure them together and through this story of it just exists and as a mass.
It's really interesting. It's like, how do you work with fictional figures in real spaces or a real person in a fictional space?
Yeah. For me, like as a curator, also as a creator, actually, it's quite exciting. It's kind of a challenge for you. So you have to shift your channels into the real, into the fiction, into the art, into academic, into practice. So for me, it's quite a very exciting experiences.
Well, yeah, if we don't have any more questions from the audience, I think we will